Hey guys, welcome to my updated worker empire guide. My name is Pansy and this video was a long time coming. Apologies it took so long to do it. They are very tedious. What I'm going to be showing you guys in this video is I'm going to go from town to town, all the major hubs in BDO, and recommend nodes around there. I'm also going to be giving you recommendation in terms of the race of the worker you should be putting. However, take it with a grain of salt. I use a tool called Workerman, and that uses my worker empire, my workers and their respective stats to make the calculations. So that's where I'm getting that information from. If you want to blindly follow this, you'll be perfectly fine. But if you do want to min-max, you'd want to go to that app. I'll link it in the description down below. It can take a little bit to get it working. You have to download Python, etc. But ask ChatGPT. It'll walk you through all the steps and help hold your hand if you need that support. If you do have any questions, you can find me at twitch.tv/I'mPansy. I stream every Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central US time. I did have to change up my schedule there. I can actually start sleeping now, which is great. And of course, you can reach me on my Discord as well. So without further ado, let's get started. This is going to be a bit of a grind in terms of information, so don't hesitate to pause. Save this video for later, come back, timestamps will be down below. So the first town is the town most of us start with, and that is Velia. Velia has some very basic nodes, but very, very decent place to get started with. So first things first, you're going to be starting off at Velia, the town, and you're going to be expanding right outside here. The first two adjacent nodes are going to be very valuable nodes. These are the chicken nodes. You get chicken and egg. They're always valuable and great nodes to pick up. Along with those, you will see potatoes, which you can pick up. It's really good for leveling workers more than anything. But, it's also another source, of additional cash or cooking material, right? So right now, as you can see in the stock, it says they're sold out, which is great. But, in addition to that, every once in a while, there's some events that go around here too. So you can just ignore this for now. But sometimes there are an event going on, which you can get some nice RNG loot there. So let's start this out. You'd want to be coming into a Bartali farm and a Finto farm. Like I said, chicken nodes are very good. You definitely want to pick those up absolutely first. Then you can pick up the adjacent potato nodes, and then now we'll start expanding outwards. Going to the northwest here, we have Iwa's Hill. You got lumbering and gathering here. So these are just fortune teller mushrooms, and the lumbering is ash timber and ash sap. You'll notice sap is a very hot commodity. They usually sell really well. There are very few items there which are always as reliable because there is a fluctuation in market, but sap is one of those which are on a more reliable side. So in terms of which workers you want for these nodes, all of these workers I just slap on giants. They do a very, very good job here. You'll notice giants and goblins, they differ depending on the type of node as well as the distance. And, there's some factors which go into it. For these 5 nodes, this chicken node and potato node at Bartali farm, this chicken node and potato farm at Finto farm, and the lumbering node at Iwa's Hill. So these 5 are the ones I wanted you to focus. This one is for leveling. Why would you pick it for leveling? Because you already take this lumbering node and you can just slap on an extra worker. You'll generally want to have 1 worker per node, right? But if you're trying to min-max, you'll also have a few workers. And if you have the spare CP, you'd want to have those few workers to power level and roll for better stats. That's a very late game thing. You don't have to worry about it early on. But if you are not looking to level up any additional workers, you don't need to get this fortune teller mushroom node. Now to further expand our empire, now the goblins will come into play. So you come down to Toscani farm, you can pick up these corn nodes because they're just 1 CP each, good for leveling, and also good material for cooking if you need it. But more than anything, it's for leveling. Once again, if you're not in the late game, you don't have to take this, but it's just something nice to do if you are trying to get those really good workers. So ideally, I skip these 2 because I don't need to level up any more workers in Velia. They're very peak right now. And you go straight to Forest of Seclusion and Ancient Stone Chamber. These 3 nodes are really nice nodes. These Powder of Flames, they sell pretty well. They're good. Copper is pretty basic, but the Powder of Flame is generally why you go for a copper node. They are usually tied together. The lumbering over here, you get Monk's Branch, which is a pretty pricey item there. It sells pretty well usually. In the excavation node, you get traces. Traces are very valuable. So all in all, these 3 nodes are very good to pick up, and all 3 of them you're going to put goblins. For this corn nodes, if you really want to profit on it, you can slap on some goblins as well, but ideally you don't need to do any of this. So let's recap Velia. You know, you're going to go to Bartali and Finto farms, chicken nodes first, then potatoes. Then you can go to Iwa's Hill for that lumbering node, giants on all 5 of these nodes. Then down to the southwest, Forest of Seclusion and Ancient Stone Chamber come up next. The mining node, lumbering node, excavation node, all goblins. And that wraps up Velia. Now we're going to the cluster here, which is known as the Heidel hub, which is also connected very closely to Glish and Tarif, and there's all these nodes here. We'll take it step by step. I know it can look like it's a lot. So with that being said, let's just start this off with Heidel, go to Glish, and then we'll finally end at Tarif. Okay? So Heidel, this is a huge town. Lots of buildings and all that stuff in there. And there's lots of nodes around here too. So definitely go get all the lodging you can get there. But when you are ready to start building out the hub here, here's how you want to go about it. You start out at Heidel, immediately go left to the west to Lynch Farm Ruins. This excavation node is a classic. It's been around for a long time and it's always served us well. So you definitely want to pick that up. There's also a gathering node here. The only reason you'd be picking this up is to level up workers, as well as it's just 1 CP. It's right there. Then you're going to go to northern plain of Serendia. Over here, there's this lumbering node, which is pretty good. It's a pretty consistent lumbering node. You definitely want to pick that up. And then up north, you have fleece production. So this is also decent, you know, not too expensive. I mean, you're spending 3 CP all the way out here, but it is pretty consistent as well. So in terms of the type of workers, here's how you want to break it down. You want to go to Lynch Farm Ruins for that excavation node. We're going to use a goblin here. Northern Plains of Serendia, the lumbering node, you want to use a giant. And at Lynch Farm Ruins for the fleece production, a giant as well. Then right next to Heidel, you have these little clusters of nodes here. So starting off with Costa Farm, you have flax, wheat, and pumpkin. The pumpkin is pretty useless. Why would you pick it up? You guys probably know the answer now. For leveling. Wheat, pretty decent, consistent. Flax, also decent, consistent enough. Now at Moretti Plantation here, you got wheat and flax as well. Those are pretty decent too. Now, for whatever reason, the calculations are skewing towards humans for these 5 nodes. Do you need humans? It ekes out just a little bit. Compared to a goblin and a giant, you know, it is coming out on top. But not by a large margin. I'm looking at like sub 100k. So for what it's worth, I would put humans on these general 5 nodes. Now, in terms of Heidel, you're going to be here, right? And you're going to start building down and everything to Glish, etc. So one thing you want to note is we're going to connect Heidel to the eastern side, basically Madaya over here. Now, how do you go about that? You could go to eastern border and go from there. However, it's a relatively wasted CP. You more ideally want to go down from south here at Castle Ruins and connect going through this way through Tarif and then do a connection all the way through here. If your CP isn't high enough, you can use these intermediary connections while you're building out. That's fine. But you might think, hey, Pansy, if this node is Heidel and you're connecting all the way down south and looping all the way to Tarif and going from here, isn't that a long route? Well, the way the game works, it doesn't really matter about the route of the nodes because the worker themselves, they're going to look at where they need to go. They're going to open up Google Maps and it's going to take them from the shortest path to where they need to go. So they're just going to go straight to Heidel. So even if our route is looping us all the way around, the distance here between Heidel and this node, it stays constant. So that's not going to affect us in terms of this whole pathway. At least I don't believe. And you should be fine. When you would be doing a shortcut here is when you don't have enough to build out all the rest of this and you're trying to really quickly get to these 2 nodes which are affiliated to Heidel. They are closest to Heidel and you do want to eventually get these. So with that being said, now from this point, we talked about Moretti Plantation. We're going to pick up Eastern Gateway down here. Then we're going to go to Castle Ruins. You can pick up this lumbering node here. Okay, so this lumbering node here, you're going to set it to set a worker from Heidel, preferably a goblin, and you should be good to go. Then you're going to connect Tarif. So I'm going to go ahead and explain the rest of the nodes here, these two for Heidel, and then I'll explain Tarif, so you'll understand where the connections need to go anyway. So in terms of the last two nodes that are affiliated to Heidel, you have right here, this is the Ancient Fissure node. You got mining and gathering. So the gathering, don't pick it up. Go for the mining. This one is pretty good. Rough red crystal, powder of time. You want to put a giant here. Up top, you don't want to connect it through Helm's Faust. You want to use these cluster of nodes you'll already have connected to reach this one, Medaya Northern Highlands. So over here, you got two lumbering nodes. Pretty expensive, but also pretty decently valuable. These are going to be maple sap and white cedar sap. You got white cedar timber. All that stuff is pretty consistent, pretty decently selling, I'd say. So that would be summing up what we all the nodes we're picking up, which are affiliated to Heidel. So yeah, at Kimut Lumber Camp, what a weird name. You can pick up the lumbering nodes and put goblins there, and yeah, route them to Tarif. Just doesn't make any sense. It just came up in the calculations that it was actually worth it. And you'll see because I connected towards the Glish area, and there's this huge network which is connected. You don't connect Tungrad Forest and Hazra Cliff. That would be a waste. So the Soldier Cemetery, these three, it's just a wasted 3 CP. So if you are coming down here, that's because you have Glish built up and had the adjacent nodes already. So yeah, that would be Tarif. Then let's look at the easier ones. These are right next to Tarif, which is pretty nice. So starting out here, right? So we have cotton and aloe. So ignore the aloe, go for the cotton. Cotton, really good. Same to the one down here. Sorry, this node is called Auto Farm. Then over here at Kazula Farm, cotton node. Once again, ignore the cinnamon. Pretty mediocre. So for these two cotton nodes, really nice. Put giants there. Okay. Then over here, we got Omar's lava cave. You got two mining nodes. You can put giants here as well. And yeah, both of them are pretty decent. Okay. And yeah, once again, these are all coming to Tarif. Okay. So then you have some nodes over here. These little 4 clusters. You have an excavation node here at Ancient Ruins excavation site. Traces, very valuable. So absolutely, a trace of nature is really good. So put a goblin over here. And then over here at Shuri Farm, you have sweet potatoes. This is a decent option too. So you can go ahead and put a goblin here as well. Then up top, going from Canyon of Corruption up to Elric Shrine, you got 2 more nodes here. First one, lumbering node, very good. White cedar sap. Slap a giant there. But then there's a sky mushroom here. You could put a goblin over here. Pretty decent to pick up as well since it's only 1 CP. And finally, you have Stonetail Wasteland. There's a lumbering node for acacia sap. You'd want to go ahead and put a giant here. And in all, I think that sums up Tarif. Now let's move on to Glish. Now, like I said, this can be a weird looking spider web. Ideally, it works out well once you optimize it by not taking these little intermediary connectors. You have all of them flushed out. So, take it step by step. You start at each individual node, build out to the closest ones, and then spread outwards. So in that fashion, let's take a look at Glish. So Glish has quite a few nodes around here. Let me make sure I'm getting all of them. So first one, directly northwest is Glish Swamp. You got a pretty decent little lead mining node here. And yeah, you can pick up the cloud mushroom here as well. Both of them are just 1 CP for the base node. So pretty good value in terms of the ratio there. I would go ahead and put a giant on the mining node and a goblin on the gathering node if you had the option. And then pretty much a lot of the other ones are pretty dominant towards goblins over here at Glish. But this one down here, so this one's a toughie, okay? So I wouldn't recommend building out the network all the way up here to Glish if you do manage to have a connection that somehow gets it connected to Duvenkroon, you know, your network, you could consider coming down here and picking this up. It really isn't worth doing a connection through here, but you know, you could take it from Duvenkroon, but once again, there's so many intermediary connectors, so it does come up as a pretty valuable one because it's such a nuisance to go pick up, right? So with that being said, if you do manage to one way or another get a cheap connection to Glish, you can use either a goblin or a giant for these two, but generally I wouldn't recommend stretching for it. Then when you look at east side of Glish here, immediately you will have this one, Southern Swamp. Over at Southern Swamp, you can pick up both of these nodes, the Cloud Mushroom and the Iron Ore. Goblins for both of these. Then up at Glish Ruins, you have an excavation site. Once again, traces, very valuable. A goblin over here. And then at Serendia Shrine, you have the lumbering node here for Monk's Branch and Pine Timber. So once again, goblin here. And this is where Kimut's lumber camp comes in for Tarif. So if you built out Glish all the way here, Glish is inherently connecting from southern guard camp to eastern gateway, which you're already going to be using to take Heidel towards Tarif. That basically opens up Kimut lumber camp for Tarif. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, I know this one is a lot, guys. But that's how it is. That's how this game works. It's such a interconnected network here. So that's Heidel, Tarif, and Glish, and majority of Medaya right there. So moving on. Next up, let's take a look at Altinova. This one brings back memories. Once upon a time, we used to pick up a lot of nodes here, but as of late, it's not really panning out compared to other areas. The reason why is because you're taking a lot of expensive intermediary connections, you know, in the form of Altinova Gateway, Rock Post, and, you know, some of these nodes are okay, but they're not really, you know, spectacular. So all in all, I ended up dropping everything east of Altinova pretty much. I do pick up these two over here. We have Abandoned Iron Mine. We got Platinum Ore, and we have Iron Ore with Rough Black Crystal. I think these are still solid. Giants on both of these. But otherwise, yeah, you know, we've pretty much sunset a lot of things here. Here in Altinova. You know, rest in peace, old friend. Next up, let's go a bit north here to Shakatu. So a couple of adjacent, well, in between towns. That's going to be Shakatu and Sangrain Bazaar we got to touch base on before we go to Valencia side. But, you know, northwest of Altinova, you got Shakatu over here. There are 3 immediately adjacent nodes, very close. All you pick up is Shakatu farmland and immediately get these 3 nodes access. So you got 2 Fig nodes and Star Anise. All of them are pretty good to pick up. Giants for all 3 in my opinion, but the difference is quite small. So even if you have goblins, that's okay too. Coming up northwest through Yalt's Canyon and Gahaz Bandit's Lair. The first stop at Bamboo Valley. Here you have the Freak node here. You can pick that up since you're already picking up this connector to get to the next set of nodes. And it's just 1 CP. You can pick that up, put a goblin there. Coming up to Iris Canyon, you have 2 nodes here. The lumbering node for Elder Tree, Timber, Planks, and Sap. So over here, I'd recommend a giant. And then for the Nutmeg, you can put a goblin there. And then coming down to Kamach Canyon, over here you have a mining node. This is for vanadium ore, pretty rare. Rough blue crystal as well, and powder rifts. You can put a giant over here. And that sums up Shakatu. Let's move on to Sangrain Bazaar next. So down at Sangrain Bazaar, immediately what we're going to be seeing is a couple of adjacent nodes. The first one is going to be belonging to Kaposha. This is a mining node for opal. So not very common. There are a few opal nodes, but this one is a very easy one to get. So I would recommend picking that up. Then when you come down a little bit south to Bazaar Farmland, you have Tef, which I would personally ignore because it's so cheap, right? But the Nutmeg, it is worth picking up, I'd say. So a giant for both the mining node here and for the nutmeg. Coming down to Valencia Western Highlands, connecting all the way down to Crescent Mountains. You have two immediate nodes here, iron ore for rough black crystals for both of these, giants on both of them. Then go to Crescent Shrine. You can pick up both of these as well. Once again, this is a pretty stacked mining node. This is titanium with rough violet crystal and powder of flame. I recommend a giant for this one, and date palms over here, which is pretty good cooking XP still. I'd put a goblin over here. So goblin there, and then giants for pretty much everything else Shakatu, sorry, Sandgrain Bazaar related. So yeah, let's move on to Valencia next. Okay, for Valencia, we gotta break this into a few pieces because you got Arehaza there, and then you're going up north further, and then once again connecting that to no workers in Valencia. So let's take it step by step. Starting at Valencia, immediately you see 3 adjacent clusters. Down here, this TEF is useless. They're very cheap. The only use case for picking those up is leveling up workers, so you can ignore those. Coming up to Valencia Plantation, though, directly north of this useless Bohalem farm, you'll be picking up all 3 of these nodes, and you'll be picking up all 3 of the nodes at Erdl Farm. So, in my calculations, these pistachio nodes seem to be winning out by humans. You know, they're not great. They're just 1 CP. If you want to spend it, you can spend it. Or if you ignore it, you're not really missing out. Free K, Date Palm, Giants for both of these. Date Palm and Silk Culture here, Giants for them. So, once again, the Silk Node is probably a good one to pick up, but otherwise everything else is okay, you know, but if anything, this is like a pretty prime leveling zone. So in terms of the nodes we're going to be picking up at Arehaza, you're going to be picking up all 3 of these nodes adjacent. So first at Area Palm Forest, you got 2 lumbering nodes. It's going to be palm timber, palm plank, and coconuts. You can pick up both of them and stack a giant worker there. Then a little bit up north here at Northern Sand Dune, there's a gathering node for cactus rind, cactus thorn, and cactus sap. You're going to be connecting through it anyway, so you might as well pick that up if you have the spare CP for it. Put a giant there as well. And then coming up to these 3 little clusters here. Okay, so you're only picking up the mining nodes all the way up here, you know, at Gavinia, Volcano Zone, Gavinia Greater Crater, and Gavinia Coastal Cliff. Only mining nodes. Now, in my calculation, all of these came out pretty neck and neck between Goblin and Giant. So whatever you have, whichever is better in terms of the individual skills and stats and how well they are optimized, put your best men on the job here, either Giant or Goblin. But Vanadium ore, rough opal over there. Titanium ore, rough violet crystal, vanadium ore, rough blue crystal, and titanium ore, rough violet crystal. So very valuable nodes up here, all 4 of these little mining nodes. So whichever best workers you got, you know, this is their gem right here. You stack them up, level up, roll their skills and everything, get the right ones, and then eventually you send them up there. All right, now let's talk about the new area over here at the Edania spot. So Hakinza Sanctuary is your primary hub. All right, post edit, I forgot to mention, before we get into the build here for Edania, it's a bit different where you're going to get lodging. If you look at Hakinza Sanctuary, this is the primary node, but this isn't where you're going to be picking up the lodging. It's going to be in areas within the region. That's going to be one down here, Shore of Ruins. So you see 2 homes over here. You got to zoom out a little bit. Shore of Ruins 1. You get 2 workers. Then you have 4 here with the second one. So these 2, Shore of Ruins 1 and 2. So that's 6. Then All's Revelation, you have 4 houses here. So start with the first one. That's 1. Second one is 2. Third one is 2. So that's 5. And then the last one is 4. So that's a total of 9. So 9 plus the 6 here, that'll give you 15. And you should have 1 free one in general. Additionally, you can get more pay-to-win lodging. You get you can buy up to 5 200 pearls each. Unfortunately, pay-to-win, yay. So yeah, before you start building out here, you need to do a significant amount. You need to have a significant amount of CP because you need to get all that lodging And you have to travel through the whole node network. I'm gonna show you right now. I'm still leveling up the workers here. That's why you see some uninhabited nodes here. But essentially, you need to have a lot of CP to build out this long network. You need to have you need to have that all the workers as well. Later, I'm going to show you the full route here, but just keep note that you can also do a shorter form here if you're just interested in getting to like this ancient ruins for the Kaffir's tree. So you can also do it like that. But I'm going to explain all the nodes now, just going through the full route first, okay? Neftak outpost to Etherion Castle. Over here, this excavation node, Trace of Nature, and Rough Green Crystal. I'll probably put a goblin there at Earnest Mountains node. So we're coming up this way to Etherion's castle. You pick that up. Then you go to Azure Battlefield, and you're going to pick up this titanium ore node, Powder of Time, Rough Translucent Crystal. I'd say Giant here. Now here, there's 3 CP worth of connecting nodes you have to go through. So you're going to go to the Canted Ring, Whispering Hills, to Nymphamare's Castle, and then you'll get to the Trace of Nature over here at Great Dark Spot. And then at Mount Rumanare, you'll get 2 mining nodes. So titanium, vanadium, both of them are decent once you do get here. So good thing they're only 1 CP each. So once you get to here, then you're going to be going to Wailing Altar, right? And then near Wailing Altar, you'll see Elder Tree plus a mining node. You can pick that up at Platera Mountains. Over here at Titanium, this Titanium one, not really important. You can get it. Definitely makes it more worth it. But basically, we're working our way all the way down here to Zephyros, where we can get to that down here at Ancient Ruins for that lumbering nodes right here, those Kaffir tree saps. So that's what we're working towards. So yeah, coming down to Wailing Altar, you can pick up this ebony opening for that mining node if you want. Tenebrum Castle is a connecting node, but ideally, first build out your pathway to Zephyros, to Ancient Ruins. You want to make sure you got your best guys working on the Kaffir's node here, the Kaffir's tree nodes here for the Kaffir tree sap over there. And yeah, you can pick up these intermediary nodes here. So yeah, for the worker recommendations, here's how I would do it. For the excavation nodes, you'd put a goblins on them. And then for the mining and lumbering nodes, everything else, I would put a straight up a giant worker. Okay. This one here, you don't really need to make the trip to get that. More so in the future, if you do have spare CP, you could do that. These 2 here, they're a bit out of the way for it to be worth it. Once again, in the future, if you do have spare CP, you could consider it. But yeah, that's the pathway I would follow for Edania. The reason why I haven't really built out, it's not that it's not good, it's that I don't want to go and roll for workers and go through the process. Once I have more time, I would probably start leveling workers there and start building this out. But I would need to extract CP from other places in order to put it here. So maybe down the line, I will go ahead and do it. But otherwise, if you do commit to this, you're going to have to commit hard to get to these deeper nodes in order for it to be worth it. All right, so to sum it up, if you don't want to go the full route and you are trying to target specific nodes, there are some intermediary areas where you can split off and pick up those in-between nodes to connect to the Zephyros side if you really wanted to. But realistically, there's a huge quantity of nodes here. If you're going to invest in Edania, you generally should invest a large amount and go and pick up all of those. Just for these 2 nodes, you could get over here, but it's nothing spectacular. Prices are capped at a certain point. It's not that these are ground-breaking nodes, but if you do, I recommend going through the whole route. Otherwise, if you want to just specifically get some, you can go to Azure Battlefield down here, or go through here to the Fate's Resting Place and work your way up here. So really depends on what you're looking for and why you want them. Me personally, I am building out my network. They're still very early on. I've just been lazy, so just leveling everything up. So I picked up pretty much all the nodes, almost all the nodes, not the ones down here, just so I can have the nodes to level up the workers at least, and then I'll pick and choose whichever ones are really pumping the cash flow. All right, now that we're done with the eastern side of BDO, hop on Frontier, take a 12-hour layover at Ilia Island. Kidding. We're going to start talking about the western side. So let's start off with Calpheon and work our way south. Actually, you know what? Let's go a bit more from west to east over here. Let's start with Keplan. That's an easy one, guys. So Keplan is just a straight shot up top, right? So you're going to be working your way all the way to this lumbering node. So Keplan, you're going to pick up Keplan Quarry. You can pick up this mining node, by the way. There's coal over there and Powder Rift. Then you're going to work your way up to this lumbering node for the Cedar Timber and Monk's Branch. This copper ore, you can pick this up. This is okay for the rough translucent crystal, but not really crazy. But primary focus is going to be this lumbering node. You can put a goblin or a giant there. For these two mining nodes, you'd want to put giants. Next up at Calpheon, this is one of those that we're going to have to take up step by step. So Calpheon up to Daya's farm to connect to northern wheat plantation. That's going to be your first step. So here you have barley, wheat, and paprika. You can buy paprikas at the NPC. So I generally tend to ignore that straight up, but you can use it for leveling purposes at most. But definitely pick up the barley and the wheat. You can put a giant or human workers here. Coming over east, you get Old Dandelion and a lumbering node where you have birch timber and red tree lump. That you can put a giant or a goblin there. Coming up northwest from northern wheat plantation, you got a connecting node at a Bernita farm. Actually, no, this isn't a connecting node. There is an excavation node here connected to this. You can put a goblin here for Trace of Nature. And then from there, you go to Bree Tree Ruins. So this one sucks, in my opinion. It's been relatively weak in terms of how much money per day, but you can ignore that one and get this lumbering node for the birch sap and the birch timber, and you should be good. Then coming from the southern side of Calpheon, you start at Calpheon. You'll work your way through Gabina Farm to North Kaya Mountaintop, and then down to Foniel's cabin. It's pretty expensive, guys. It doesn't really offset the cost of this. You can get here, but the use case for getting down here is if you're going to be sharing workers from Calpheon to these. So there's a couple of adjacent ones you can send it from Calpheon, but personally, I rather work up from Treant, just because this really works out for Treant. For those with like legacy empires where they heavily invested in Calpheon, compared to my older recommendations, this is pretty light on Calpheon side. In that case, if you do want to get this, you can get it. But otherwise, it's a goblin or a giant. Pretty expensive in the connection side to unlock it. So yeah, if you don't already have it built out, you can build it out. But then if you do come down here, 1 + 1 + 2 for those connecting nodes. Over here, you have a Rudum's Outstation and Bear Riverhead. Both of these are mining nodes. And yeah, these are also connected to workers in Calpheon. So if you do invest to get this, make sure you're getting these. If you can't get these two nodes, this is not worth it. So all this comes in a bundle. Okay, so a lumbering node, mining node. All three of these, well, actually, this lumbering node, you can do a goblin or a giant, but these two mining nodes, definitely giants over there. And yeah, that should sum up Calpheon. So directly southwest of Calpheon, you got Treant. Treant is stacked. There's some very juicy nodes here. I would definitely recommend investing here. Honestly, before even investing in Calpheon, I'd freaking pick up Treant. So here's how you go with Treant. There's two directions to Treant. So first, you're going to go northwest to Lumberjack's Rest area for this lumbering node here. This one has Spirit Tree Leaf. This has always been historically a pretty stacked one in terms of money per day. So put a giant worker there, come up to Abandoned Monastery to Treant Forest to this lumbering node. For Timber and Bloody Tree Knot, a giant over there. Then you can come up to Tobare's cabin to Mancha Forest. You got two nodes here, lumbering node and excavation node for Trace of Nature. So once again, excavation node usually goes goblin, so definitely put a goblin there, and a giant for this lumbering node, which is fir timber and fir sap. Now we're going to take the southeastern side. So I used to pick up this gathering node just because, but you know, there's better use of CP, even if it's just one. For leveling purposes, at most you can do it. Otherwise, if you're building out, the reason we're building out here is going to be more for, sorry, these two adjacent nodes here: longleaf tree forest for this lumbering one, and cedar sap. Then coming up to bear, and then going to bear downstream to this excavation node for that rough opal and the trace of nature. Opal and nature, great combination. But you do have to work your way up here to Rua's tree stub. So goblins for everything around here, this excavation node, this lumbering node, and yeah, once again, this is just for leveling purposes. So pretty expensive investment, but I would say this is a pretty good node, honestly. Opals are pretty okay, and then traces are always pretty valuable. So yeah, that sums up Treant, Calpheon, and Keplan. Next up, we have the Kamasylvia region, and primarily Grana. In the past, I've always ignored this because I felt it was pretty expensive over here. I still think it's expensive. The only use case for making Grana work is the trifecta of these two knock ore, actually, all these two knock ore plus this trace of nature plus Vidalona. The Vidalona flower is sold out, and it's skyrocketing in price as of this time of this video. So the only way you're gonna be making this work is with all three of these. If you look south, there's a knock ore over here, but man, 4 CP for this one knock ore, pretty expensive, dude. The only way I would be picking this up was back in the day. I used to have this node unlocked and leveled up to the max for the drop rate. So, you know, I'd already be making that connection for grinding purposes. So I would pick up that that node for that one reason. But realistically, I wouldn't come down south unless you had the spare workers and really wanted some knock ore for whatever reason. But if you wanted to make Grana work, your best shot is the trifecta up top with the excavation plus 2 knock mining ones. So for all 4 of these nodes, I recommend Fatus. Those are the giant equivalent of the Kamasylvian races. But realistically, it's expensive, man. It's expensive, but it can work. Now, I still haven't changed my mind about Odraxia. Man, this place is expensive. I just can't justify spending the CP here. I mean, there's okay stuff here, but nothing like that's gonna really make bank. It's just too expensive to unlock. Like, you're going for this nickel ore, you got to get through these. This node isn't worth enough to unlock that. I wish they dropped this down to like 1 CP. Then I'd be like, yes. But otherwise, you know, skip Odraxia. Let's go to Duvenkroon. Duvenkroon still has some worthwhile nodes. Not like the old day anymore. I mean, before, back in the day, I'd pick up these adjacent nodes. You can still pick these up for leveling purposes, but otherwise for money, yeah, they're okay. But realistically, I'm using these only for leveling. These over here are the ones I focus on. And honestly, nowadays, you know, I wouldn't really pick up all of them. Go for the knock ore in the calc mine plus the excavation at Sharkon Necropolis and the excavation here for at Fountain of Origin. So all 3 of these goblins. So yeah, from Duvenkroon, Morning Fog Post, Harak Shelter to Sharkon Necropolis for the first one, and then pick up this one. Don't build out unless you're going for all 3. Otherwise, just getting 1 or 2 of these are not worth it. Such wasted potential around this area, man. Seriously, they really need to rework it. Okay, I would like to say we're almost done, but we're not. We still have really big nodes, hubs coming up, so let's take a break for shouting myself out. Hey, once again, I stream on twitch.tv/I'mPansy. You know, I stream every Saturday and Sunday now. I had to change up my stream schedule, man. I used to really enjoy streaming during the week at nights and stuff, but you know, with a kid, with a wife and everything, I just cannot get enough sleep. And unfortunately, that led to me not even going to gym and stuff. So, you know, for the sake of my sanity and my sleep, we only stream on the weekends, but I try to pack as much content there as possible for you guys. And we have a really good time, you know. So it's been going pretty well. Saturday, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central US time. Oh yeah. let's keep going. I needed just a little breather here in between because I'm just yapping nonstop, and this is just so nerding and statistically making me mauled every time I try to make this video. It does take a lot of work, so I really appreciate y'all's support, and please do like and drop a comment down below. So let's start off with Eilton for this next section here. So Eilton, historically, I used to have a lot more nodes here. I did downsize, you know, compared to other areas. Alton really isn't making the cut anymore. I used to like build up to like the cedar sap. It's mostly the cost of these nodes, you know, like sometimes if there's a connecting node, which is like 2 CP, then I had to pick up the node for 2 CP, and then I had to pick up the actual the lumbering node for 2 CP. It's like 6 CP investment. So I'm going to ignore that on top. So our primary nodes here, we're only picking up 3 things. We're going to come down here to Asvir Highlands. Excavation node, you guys know I love that. Goblin straight up on that one. Come to Mountaintop Guard. You can pick up this one if you still have workers there. They're leveled up, but I wouldn't really invest for it. Jade Starlight Forest has 2 nodes. That is going to be the Snowfield Cedar Timber plus Sap, and the mining ore for the Rough Jade. I would pick up these 2 over here. Put a Goblin on the lumbering one. Put a Giant on the mining one. And once again, that excavation, that's going to be a Goblin. So basically 1, 2, 3. These are the primary focus here. You can pick up the honey. You can pick up the lumbering node if you have spare workers. I wouldn't really invest your time in getting them. Otherwise, build out rest of the map before you come here. All right, now we're going to take Spirit Airlines because we hate ourselves. And 3 days later, we're going to make it up to Land of the Morning Light. Landing in Nampu's Moodle Village. Usually I used to skip this one, but you know, lately them traces, you know, they're just feeling really good lately. So of course, trace over here. This is Hamo Island for that excavation node. 1 CP to unlock, 1 CP for the excavation node. I think that's a pretty good deal. In terms of the worker, put a Shellfolk there. A Shellfolk equivalent of a giant in LOML terms, right? Now let's work our way northwest from here. Let's start off with Godu Village. So this little guy here, we're gonna first pick up this one down here. Pine Sap, you know, pretty solid. I'd put a Dokubi here. That's the equivalent of a Goblin. For these 4 adjacent nodes here, you can pick up all of them. You can pick up the one up north a little bit for Unjanga Street for that lumbering node. God, I'm just unable to speak today. So all 5 of these nodes here, this lumbering node for the birch sap, radish, rice, and Napa cabbage. Shellfolk for all of them. And then up north here, we got Soul to Secret Society, and we have a mining node for one of my favorites, opals. So opals and powder of flame, actually. So a Shellfolk worker here. So to recap, go to village, lumbering, these 5 nodes here, then this mining node up here. So yep, moving on to Yukjo Street. Okay, Yukjo Street. So we'll build northwest here first to Dongmakgol Village, a lumbering node there. You can pick up a Dungroyong Cave for these 2 mining nodes. Zinc, both of them are zinc and platinum. This is fur and timber sap. Shellfolk workers for all 3. Yukjo Soul, they're already pretty much connected, right? So I think something like that. Yukjo to Soul to Mengyun Hall for the excavation node, because you know I love Trace of Natures. And yeah, you can put a Shellfolk over there. From Yukjo south side, at Yunru to Wonjin Palace, there's a lumbering node here. Dokubi worker for this spirit leaf and fir timber. Coming down to Dang Forest and Gyogui Cave. Yeah, so we're going to call that Geo Cave. So that's Dang Forest and Geo Cave. You can pick up both the mining nodes. You can ignore this Viola because it's dirt cheap, I guess. So anyway, these 2 mining node Shellfolk workers for this. Platinum ore, powder of time, and we got opal and powder of flame. So yeah, that sums up Yukjo Street. Now let's move up to Bukpo, my favorite town, because this is where I turn in my fish. So I visit here at least once or twice a day. So from Buckpo, we're going to go southwest to Bioli Forest for these two lumbering nodes. Both of these are averaging out pretty neck and neck for Shellfolk versus Dokubi. So whichever you have better, you know, put the best guy on the job. Yeah, next up at Mutkul Village, there's this mining node, which is okay. You know, you got iron ore, rough black crystal, powder of darkness. And Mount Aishi, you have an excavation node, trace of nature. So these two mining and excavation nodes, you can put Shellfolk workers. And yeah, we still have half of LOML to go. Okay, now for Dolbol Village. So from Dolbol Village, directly northwest, we have Biombui Valley. Over here, you have two nodes which are worth it. Obviously, excavation, and you get crystal decimations here. I heard those crystals are on pre-order a lot nowadays, so pretty nice to pick up. And then you have a lumbering node for maple sap, maple timber, old tree bark. This whatever flower that is garbage. Oh, sorry. Shellfolk worker for both of these. Then coming southwest of Dolbel Village, you have actually no. Use that as a connector. Don't pick up these two nodes here. Reeds suck. And then go to this Dokubi Forest for these two excavation node. Crystal of Harmony, Pog, Trace of Nature, Pog. Forest Crystal Pog, Trace of Nature Pog. And these are just great. I mean, I love that they're just one CP for everything in LOML. So yeah, pick up these two. Shellfolk Worker for both of these over here. Then coming south of Gowun Plateau, this connecting node here where we ignore the reed. So yeah, down here at a Golden Pig Cave, you got the excavation node for Trace of Nature, Crystal of Darkness, Crystal of Bitterness. Pretty stacked node over there. Shellfolk Worker for that as well. Now, last one for the Dolbel side, from, once again, Gowun Plateau connecting node over to Honglam Base. We got the lumbering node here for the pine timber and the pine sap. Bracken, it just never really panned out in terms of volume for me, so I tend to ignore that one. Dokubi on that lumbering node over here. Now coming over to Nopse Bayouts County. I know what you guys are thinking. This seems like this node is closer to Dolbel, but nope, it's closer to Nopse. I don't know why. But yeah, if you have Dolbel pretty much built out right, so you'll already have Honglam Base directly south. You can connect Bomne County for that lumbering node. I would put a Dokubi here as well. So that's already directly connected to Nopse Bayard County. At Nopse, you have these four wonderful nodes that are just directly right here, sitting here, chilling. I don't like flowers. I ignore that one. But rice, Napa cabbage, radish, all decent. Fuck, you can even pick them. Sorry, bad language. You can pick up these four for any worker you want. You can put whatever they are. They all pretty much pan out to pretty identical numbers. Coming up to Barry Forest for that lumbering node, cedar timber and spirits leaves. Yeah, pretty solid pick over there. So, but yeah, that sums up LOML over here. Yeah, man. Shit, we got Ulukita. God damn it. Once again, Spirit Airlines, Frontier, whatever the fuck you want. United, get beat up while you're on the flight by a flight attendant. Come over to Ulukita. So you got Asperken and Mugzer. So the Asperken side, you know, nothing ever really stood out for me other than this acacia note. So I would recommend, if you're doing anything around here, it's still pretty expensive. 3 CP for that. Nerida playing to this acacia timber. That's it. So this acacia sap over there. I never really liked birch sap, so I'm going to ignore that one. So then down at Mugzer, right? So Mugzer, I do have a total of 5 giants around. Oh, sorry. A giant for this one here. For that Nerida and lumbering node over there. So over here, I got 5 giants. So I got one dude up here at Darkseeker's Retreat on that mining node. For that iron ore, just because it's pretty close, you know. Then down here at Israhid Highlands, you go from Kashrad Mountains to Israhid Highlands for these 2 lumbering nodes. Cedar timber, cedar sap. You got white cedar timber and bloody tree knot, white cedar sap. Then to Velendir. I wish I had workers there, but they don't. It doesn't work like that. But You got Shaktar Wilds for that lumbering node for the birch timber, and the lumbering node for the pine timber, pine sap, and spirit leaf. So yeah, I have these 5 nodes working right now. I might revisit it. I mean, you guys know I'm a sucker for Trace of Nature. It's just over here, the synergy just isn't there for me. But I might think about revisiting it in the future. These are the ones that I have right now, though. So as you can tell, I'm pretty dead right now after going through all this. This is why I don't like making these Worker Empire videos, man. It's so draining. There's so many variables here. There's so much clutter and all of this. You know what we need? We need a mobile app for Worker Empire. A mobile app where we can feed our workers, we can roll for skills, we can pick and choose nodes. Bro, that would be so wonderful. I wish we had that. I wish they could like build on this a little bit more, add more variability here. I mean, you know, once upon a time, production workshops and stuff used to be great. I remember before they increased the price of Roughstone, like, you guys remember Russ's guides back then, which got everyone making cooking utensils. He got so tired of there not being any cooking utensils to buy. He just got us all on that whole train, and we were making so many cooking utensils here at Glish and stuff, and you know, it was actually worth it back then. But you know, there's so many these kind of production workshops, that's the word. So there's so many workshops in the game that just isn't as profitable anymore. They're kind of forgotten. I wish they do a whole revamp on that and bring that back. And then if you had that, like, you know, control that through your phone and stuff, I think that would that'd be fun. I like that kind of stuff. I like playing on my phone. Give me some useful stuff. At least we can access the auction house, the central market on the phone. At least we got that, right? Oh shit, I'm rambling. I'm recording a video. Sorry guys. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you found it helpful. Check me out at twitch.tv/impansy, streaming every weekend now on Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, find me over there. I'd be happy to help. But this is it, guys. Please stop asking me for the Worker Empire guide. It's very hard. So yeah, I'm playing with you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.